Hello, thank you for your interest in the Talent Innovation Fund. Today, we're going to be talking about the Spring 2022 application for funds to be used for school year 2022-2023. Here's how we will plan to spend our time together. First, we'll go through some overviews of both the Mind Trust as well as the Talent Innovation Fund, the focus areas for this year's cycle, and the application process, as well as how to get in contact with someone if you have questions. Our mission at the Mind Trust is clear. The Mind Trust strives to provide every Indianapolis student access to an excellent education by amplifying the power of neighborhoods and communities to lead education change, supporting schools to grow and excel in a thriving education ecosystem, and disrupting systemic racism in education. As we look to the future, the Mind Trust envisions a world where by 2027, public school students within the IPS geography will be served by a system of autonomous schools where 3 times as many students will be academically proficiency. We believe a fundamental metric or a fundamental way to get there is in ensuring we have excellent teachers that are leading the students in the classrooms working towards proficiency. Before we get started, I want to make sure that I introduce you to the team that leads the work of supporting schools. On the screen, you'll see Paula Glover, Director of Recruitment and Project Management, Kelly Marshall, Senior Vice President of Schools, Bernadette Monk, Manager of School Support and Incubation, Sonia Peters, Senior Director of School Incubation, and I'm Sarah Marshall, the Senior Director of Talent. As we go through this process, you may engage with a variety of members from our team and wanted to make sure that you knew who each of us was. So let's talk a little bit more about the talent landscape as we know. Those of you that are viewing and are school leaders, I don't think anything on here will stand out. We currently know that 1 in 6 College of Education majors that are entering the college system are matriculating into Indiana classrooms. And while the retention rate across the state of educators was around 90% last year, Center Township schools continue to see a slightly lower retention rate for our schools. The positive here is certainly that when we look across the state with educators of color, 32% of the total teachers across the IPS border identify as teachers of color, which is about 10% more than the data from the state. But what we also know is that COVID-19 and the impact of the Great Resignation have impacted our schools, along with other industries. I want to be clear that education is not alone in the impacts from COVID-19 and the Great Resignation. While we know that this is the actual kind of landscape, we also believe that there are opportunities for Indianapolis to set itself apart and change this narrative. One of the ways that we'll do that is through our Talent Innovation Fund. We believe that Indianapolis has the conditions to create innovative changes for the talent landscape. And so we've created this flexible funding opportunity to identify and implement creative approaches closest to those that are impacted. Our fund is open to schools, districts, networks, and organizations working within the IPS boundary. And all of the projects must be aligned to the TMT's strategic plan in support of recruitment, development, and retention of teachers. We're excited to announce that we are going to be accepting applications for our 5th funding cycle for school year 22-23. Over the past 4 years, the Mind Trust has been excited to provide over $400,000 in funding to a variety of schools, organizations, networks, et cetera, to do some great work to meaningfully move the needle in talent. As you can see here, we've made efforts in the areas of recruitment, leadership pathways, and then development for both teachers as well as school leaders. As we move into our talent area specifically, on the screen, you will see our 5 goals that are in service of tripling student proficiency by 2027. We're looking to recruit high quality instructional staff, especially in hard to staff areas, recruiting high quality staff who reflect the racial demographic of our students, increasing the quality, skill, and capacity of current staff that are within our building, retaining a higher percentage of those high quality staff members, and finally identifying and creating training opportunities for high quality teachers who show early signs of leadership readiness. I want to be very clear that this year's process is going to be a little more focused and narrow than in the Talent Innovation Fund applications in the past. So I wanted to name the overall fund focus for this year and what we're going to be looking for as we review applications. First, we're looking for very clear connections back to student performance and how you'll be collecting data. We want to see how you're going to be retaining the high quality teachers that you're engaging with, and that you have a rigorous selection process in how you're going about selecting either future teachers or current teachers who are going to be engaged in your program. We want to make sure you have clear metrics for teacher quality, as well as the staff capacity on your team to meet the stated goals. And finally, recognizing that there has been additional funds provided to schools throughout the year due to ESSER and other COVID-related funds, we want to make sure that we see a clear understanding of how the funds will be leveraged alongside existing funds you may have. So with those thoughts in mind, we're going to be accepting applications in 2 priority areas this year. And again, just those 2 areas of recruitment and then teacher licensure, certification, and teacher development. Let's first talk about what we're looking for in the areas of recruitment. In the areas of recruitment, we're looking for proposals that are focused on the following items on the screen, including things like mindset of educators who will increase student proficiency, new pipeline and teacher instructional staff talent to fill vacancies or gaps that you have, increasing high quality diverse talent in your recruitment efforts, and increasing the recruitment of hard to staff areas listed on the screen. So again, looking for proposals that are perhaps thinking about an innovative way to solve recruitment challenges that either the school, the network are experiencing, or an organization that might be able to be helpful. The second area of focus that we're looking for this year is in this licensure, certification, and development. I want to be clear that this is development of current teachers with the goal of keeping these teachers in classrooms as much as possible. This is not aligned to leadership development pipelines for this current year, but really thinking about how we're developing the capacity of the teachers that already are in our classrooms. So we're looking for projects that are focused on, again, mindset and skills to increase student proficiency, teacher capacity in serving special populations, including populations such as special education and English learning, or ELL, training that's aligned to standards and best practices with an identified possible partner in mind. And also, again, making sure that the partner that you're going to be bringing on to provide the development opportunities or perhaps the certification have the capacity and are high quality. So again, to really elevate and stamp the adjustments for this year's cycle, we are narrowing our focus to recruitment, licensure and certification, and development, which is classroom capacity. We are not accepting proposals for leadership pathways and leadership pipeline programs at this time, though we do encourage you to continue to watch for other opportunities at the Mind Trust if those become available. We're also making some adjustments in our funding structure where renewals should anticipate less funds over time. Again, we want to make sure that these proposals are sustainable above and beyond the funds provided by the Mind Trust. So if you are a first-time applicant or you're applying for a new project, okay, so again, a new project, the maximum amount or the full funding amount is $25,000. In year 2, if you're coming for a renewal, you can anticipate about 75% of those funds. And years 3 and beyond, expect about 60% of the total funding, so around $15,000. I should also mention that if we see a proposal that needs just a little bit more time to develop, we have in the past offered planning grants of smaller amounts to help support with a more robust planning process for the school. So that is also something that we will be offering this year. Another adjustment that we're making to our cycle is in tracking and also in goals. This year, goals for the project will be shared directly with the school during the MOU process. So we have a set of identified criteria using a SMART goals setting process that we'll share with schools. And then we will ask for feedback to be taken into account. The goals will include clear connections back to those focus areas of recruitment and licensure. So some examples are listed here on the screen. Example, school ABC will recruit 3 teacher residents through their Talent Innovation Fund initiative to be in place by January 2023. You'll see a similar sample goal for licensure as well as retention. We are going to be adjusting our reporting timeline this year as well to be more of a quarterly reporting timeline. You'll see the dates where we will be sending you a template asking you to report back on the goals listed above. And then we will also ask for the opportunity to engage in a possible site visit if you're offering training or the opportunity to collaborate and see your work in action. We hope that all of these changes feel really aligned to how we're going to get to that high level goal of proficiency and how we will increase teacher capacity, but also lead to greater teacher retention over time. So let's talk a little bit about the timeline. Our Talent Innovation Fund application launched January 18th. Don't worry, there's plenty of time to complete the application. It has a close date of March 1st. And then the month of March, our internal team will spend time doing reviews. We'll also schedule some follow-up questions and, if needed, interviews with your staff to make sure that we understand the core vision for your project. Our goal is to award all schools, whether they have received the funding or will not be receiving, but will be asked to apply in the future, that information by late April to enable you and your school to plan for the future. And finally, you can expect funds to be dispersed in May or June. And again, then we ask for the funds to be spent during the following school year, 2022-2023. We have developed our own website for you with as much information as possible. So it'll include the link to the application, an overview of the process. There'll also be a Word version of the application for you to work on prior to submission, a copy of this video, and video guidance on how to submit an application on our portal. I want to thank you in advance for your interest. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or a member of my team. You'll see my email here on the screen. And we hope that your school year is starting off well, the second semester, that everyone is continuing to stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you soon.